Ski in the morning, surf in the afternoon. Same state. One valley here grows a third of America's food. One neighborhood files more patent applications than most countries on Earth. One industry based here shapes what 7 billion people watch, wear, and want. It controls 80% of the world's almond supply. 80% of the whole world. It was its own independent country for 25 days. Its state animal has been extinct within its borders for over a century. And if it seceded tomorrow? Fifth largest economy on Earth. Not a country, not a continent, one state. This is California, and you don't know it as well as you think you do. California runs 840 miles down the western edge of the United States, longer than Germany from north to south. Third largest state by land area, most populated at nearly 39 million people, more residents than the entire country of Canada. The nickname, the Golden State, has earned its keep across different eras. In 1848, it meant gold in a riverbed. Today it means sunshine, farmland, and an economy so disproportionate to its size that economists find it quietly embarrassing on behalf of actual nations. The state motto is Eureka, Greek for I have found it, originally a nod to the gold rush. Now it might as well be the founding philosophy of every startup that ever opened a Series A in San Francisco. So let's dig in. The history that built this thing, the numbers that shouldn't be possible, and a few facts that will genuinely make you stop. January 24th, 1848. A carpenter named James Marshall is checking a sawmill on the American River. He sees something glinting. He picks it up. Gold. What happens next is one of the fastest demographic explosions in recorded history. Within 2 years, California's non-indigenous settler population goes from roughly 14,000 to over 300,000. People arriving from Chile, China, Mexico, Australia, Ireland, and every U.S. state east of the Mississippi, all chasing the same instinct. California becomes almost immediately one of the most culturally diverse places on Earth. Between 1848 and 1855, roughly $2 billion in gold was extracted from California, over $70 billion in today's dollars. The state enters the Union in 1850, barely 2 years after the rush begins. There's almost no time to build a functioning government before California is already a boomtown with international shipping lanes and a stock exchange. Skip ahead a century. After World War II, the federal government pours enormous resources into aerospace and defense research. California captures an outsized share. Lockheed, Douglas Aircraft, Northrop Grumman, all operating here. California becomes the spine of America's defense industrial complex. Here's the pivot. The engineers and physicists who arrive for aerospace start doing something unusual on the side. They tinker. Stanford University, sitting at the edge of what will soon be called Silicon Valley, actively encourages graduates to start companies instead of taking salary jobs on the East Coast. In 1939, two Stanford graduates named Bill Hewlett and Dave launch a company in a Palo Alto garage with $538 in starting capital. That garage is now a California historical landmark. The company is still operating. Gold rush to semiconductor fab. Tent city to trillion-dollar campus. It's the same impulse. Find something valuable, build around it, refuse to leave. California's GDP in 2024, approximately $3.9 trillion. Here's what that number actually means. United Kingdom, approximately $3.1 trillion. California wins by $800 billion. France, approximately $3.0 trillion to California wins. India, 1.4 billion people, approximately $3.7 trillion to California still wins. The only economies larger, the full United States, China, Germany, and Japan. Complete list. A single American state, 39 million people, outproducing nations that ran empires for centuries. So how? The tech engine Silicon Valley is a geographic region, the southern San Francisco Bay Area, and it contains the densest concentration of technological capital in history. Apple, Google, Meta, Netflix, NVIDIA, Salesforce, Intel, Airbnb, Uber, Stripe, OpenAI, all headquartered or founded here. Apple's market cap has periodically exceeded the entire GDP of France. One company, one campus in Cupertino, competing economically with a G7 nation. California captures roughly half of U.S. venture capital investment. The AI revolution specifically, the one reshaping every industry simultaneously, is being designed, funded, and deployed largely from here. NVIDIA's chips, OpenAI's models, Anthropic's research, all of it. The agricultural engine. Here's what people miss because they're busy thinking about stock options. The Central Valley is one of the most productive agricultural zones on Earth. California grows roughly a third of all vegetables and two-thirds of all fruits and nuts consumed in the United States. But the number that ends conversations. California produces approximately 80% of the world's almonds. Not U.S. supply, world supply. Every other country combined produces the remaining 20%. Strawberries, pistachios, walnuts, tomatoes, grapes, artichokes, lettuce. California leads category after category. The wine industry in Napa and Sonoma competes directly with France and Italy at the top of the global market. Most places get a technology economy or an agricultural one. California runs both at world-class level simultaneously. Death Valley, the lowest point in North America at 282 feet below sea level, and Mount Whitney, the highest peak in the contiguous U.S. at 14,505 feet, are both in California, less than 100 miles apart. On the same day, you could stand in the hottest place on Earth and look up at a mountain with permanent snow. The northern coast has the tallest trees on the planet. The southeast has the Mojave Desert. The Sierra Nevada runs the eastern border like a wall. And then there's 840 miles of Pacific coastline, cliffs, beaches, sea stacks, kelp forests that visitors consistently describe as looking computer-generated. This geography wasn't just beautiful. It was the original business plan. Agricultural valleys, hydroelectric potential in the mountains, natural deep water ports for Pacific trade. The land itself made California economically viable before a single piece of legislation was written. Culture. Hollywood produces the films and television the world watches. American cinema is, in practice, Californian cinema. But the export goes further. The fashion, the aesthetic, the version of American culture that lands in living rooms from Sao Paulo to Seoul is, most of the time, specifically Californian. Skateboarding started here. Modern surf culture was defined here. The farm-to-table movement, the startup ethos, the wellness industry. California invented them or turned them into global phenomena. There's a specific personality the state has developed over 175 years. Relentlessly optimistic, sometimes to the point of absurdity, with a compulsion to reinvent itself every decade. It draws people who couldn't find what they needed anywhere else and decided to build it themselves. It's been doing that since 1848. California was briefly its own nation. In June 1846, American settlers staged the Bear Flag Revolt, seized the town of Sonoma, and declared the California Republic. It lasted 25 days before U.S. forces arrived. The bear from that flag still appears on California's state flag today. That bear, the California grizzly, has been extinct within the state since 1922. California's official state animal is an animal that no longer exists in California. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake killed an estimated 700 to 3,000 people and destroyed roughly half the city. San Francisco was rebuilt within a decade. It is now one of the most expensive real estate markets on Earth, constructed directly on multiple active fault lines. People are aware of this. They keep arriving. Lake Tahoe on the California-Nevada border reaches 1,645 feet at its deepest point, enough water to cover the entire state of California to a depth of 14 inches. Visibility in the lake reaches 70 feet on a clear day. Visitors consistently describe it as looking artificial. It is not artificial. And then there's this. California has, at various points, been home to more Nobel Prize winners than most sovereign nations. UC Berkeley alone has been affiliated with over 100 Nobel laureates, as students, faculty, or researchers. That figure puts it ahead of most countries' entire national totals. The intellectual infrastructure is as concentrated as the financial one. The idea of California leaving the United States gets floated periodically, sometimes as political theater, sometimes as a genuine policy position. Strip away the politics and run the economic thought experiment, because it's revealing. An independent California would arrive on the world stage with a $3.9 trillion economy, 39 million people, dominant technology companies, productive agriculture, significant defense infrastructure, and Hollywood as a soft power instrument. It would not enter as an emerging economy. It would enter as a first world superpower, comparable immediately to Germany or Japan. The counter-arguments are real. California imports most of its water from neighboring states, relies on federal infrastructure and military protection, and operates on the U.S. dollar. The interdependencies run deep. But the fact that the question makes sense to ask, that a single state has built sufficient economic mass to plausibly exist as an independent global player, says something worth sitting with. The United Kingdom unified in 1707. France's current republic dates to 1958. California has been at this for 175 years. It is already the fifth largest economy on Earth. California is expensive, overcrowded, geologically unstable, perpetually in some kind of drought or wildfire, and home to the most aggressively optimistic people on the continent. It is also, by most objective measures, one of the most productive, creative, and consequential places that has ever existed. The gold rush didn't end. It just changed what it was looking for. Drop a comment. What got you? The almond monopoly? The 25-day republic? The fact that California's state animal is a ghost? I read every one. If you want more of this, economic deep dives, underrated histories, places stranger than their reputation, subscribe. New one every week.